your baby daddy to find bitches here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex,
And I'm Mary,
and this is
lawyering out loud.
a podcast about life, lawyering, and
All the things we're mad about.
how you doing today, friend?
Bruh. Has it been a week? Because it's been a week. It's been a week.
Capitalism kicked my ass.
I don't think this is the life I was intended to live.
No, this is definitely not what my ancestors wanted for me. Capitalism kicked my ass when I don't do my hair to record.
But you still look cute.
And does.
Period.
And does.
Period. Girl, I feel like this week kicked my butt. I can't even say much, just that.
I was up for 64 hours almost. Like literally for 3 days, I probably slept 5 hours.
Okay, so what we really have to do is tell the people that even though we joke around about you not working, you're actually a crackhead. Like you work too much.
Craziness.
A whole lot. Why were you up for 64 hours?
Girl, I'm going on vacation. That's that white supremacy shit. I'm like, I have to get everything out the door before I leave. So I'm like trying to crank everything out. I started taking detained clients again. So some of my clients are sitting in detention. 2 of them are in actual prison, like not prison, but like jail, like federal jail. Federal detention is what they call it. So they're in federal detention. So it's been like kicking my ass because I'm like, I gotta get the motherfuckers out. Like the hard part about detained cases, the reason I love detained cases is, of course, the turnaround is short, the money is good. But the hard part about it is that I constantly think about these people. Like I literally have to work on my non-detained cases at night because I spend the entire day thinking about how the fuck I'm gonna get these people out.
And what does that entail for you?
What do you mean?
You said federal.
So they actually prosecute federally unlawful entry. So my clients who entered into the United States unlawfully, sometimes if they get lucky, they will just be processed by immigration. But sometimes if the federal government feel like being a jerk, I can't remember the section of 8 USC it is, but there's a section for unlawful entry is actually a federal misdemeanor. So they could actually catch a criminal charge from that.
Sorry, you and I spoke about this earlier because I literally told you I didn't even know that was a crime. That's crazy.
It's a lot of shit motherfuckers don't know about immigration. That's why I be getting mad as hell when I'm scrolling on the internet and I see people talking shit. I'm like, if you had a freaking idea. But my week was good. I had good news too. I had a client. I actually was in the news because of that client. Who, girl, you're not in the news all the time. Because I don't have behavior. So
Okay.
really nothing. I stay out of the news on purpose these days so I could cut up more.
I got an eye on you.
Yeah, she was in the news because she was detained in Aventura, taken to the hospital because she ended up having a medical episode because of how terrified she was from her interaction with immigration. And Aventura Hospital staff allowed an ICE agent to come into the room and stay there with her, even though that there was ICE didn't have any paperwork for that woman. There was no warrant. There was nothing. And she stayed there. They offered her medical care there. They were asking her about her medical history in front of this man she didn't know. And we were enraged. So we called the news. We're like, literally, do immigrants have no right? This woman is trying to get medical care and they're allowing like an ICE agent or CBP. I don't know what agency it was, but it was a federal immigration agent to be in the room while she's trying to receive medical care. What is she going to do? Push through the ceiling and leave? There's only one way in and one way out. Why can't he just wait outside? But they wouldn't do it. But I represented her and we finally got her a green card.
Congrats.
Yeah. She's extremely emotional. She gets to see her family after 26 years. That's why and that woman had never had an encounter. I'm not talking about crime. She never even had a ticket in the United States and was here for 2 decades without document. Even when we went to immigration court and the judge was asking her, so what did you do that made you get in contact with immigration? She was like, nothing. I was just a passenger in a car. He was like, so you were driving without that? She was like, no, I was not. I was literally a passenger. And the judge was like, how is that possible, counsel? I've said, welcome to Trump's America. What do you want me to tell you? She was sitting in a car. Like, she didn't do anything. She has no criminal record. But when people tell me, oh, these people, shut the up. Respectfully. Or is it respectfully?
Yeah, we're not doing that anymore.
That's what I thought. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to, it was still early.
We're not engaging in that respectable BS.
Never did, never will. But
I did a little bit, not anymore.
Yeah, so there's highlights, right? Like, the toughness of this job is also where the greatness of the job lies. We talk about this all the time. Like, lawyering is designed to rescue people from the brink of like disaster. So like, I caught that woman at the right place at the right time when I was randomly just gathering with folks, and I was on a rapid response team, and they were like, can somebody help her? And I jumped in my car, drove 45 minutes to Aventura, and was like, what is needed. And I just took that woman's case. Her kids, I saw them grow. It's been a beautiful experience to get to know her family. And I also appreciate the privilege of being able, I represented that woman for 5 years without her ever paying a dime. And to me, that makes the job far more worth it than anybody who could pay me any money. Now, I don't think any of my clients listen to this. This is not a license for you not to run me my cash. But pro bono work really makes this job worthwhile. So I understand attorneys who do a lot of public service. I know that that's where you are right now. I understand it. Like, it's something extremely rewarding knowing that this person know that they can count on you and you really put your best effort and you're not motivated by capital.
Something that I'm going to big up about you and that I remember specifically from the past is that you're very much like an activist movement lawyer. And I remember when there was a Muslim ban by Trump and Trump's administration that you called me. I wasn't even a lawyer. I was still a teacher. And you're like, Mary, we're going to protest in Miami Airport. You riding? Let's go. And I'm like, I can't, but girl, do it to it. Like, it's you. This is not new to you to jump in when people need representation. And when you say that about this is what motivates you, like, it really does. I really do see how this really does motivate you.
I enjoyed very much. But thank you, friend. You're so
Yeah,
nice.
I remember that.
And I sure did go protest because
Yes,
make me
you
boo.
called me to tell me you were headed over there.
And did. And
Yeah,
did.
I remember that. I was still teaching and I was in the classroom. And you're like, Mary, I'm riding to Miami Airport. You riding? And I'm like, girl, I can't today. But, and you were like, well, I'm going to be out there in case anybody gets detained. And I'm like, okay, girl.
I was there for
That was years ago.
Yeah, no, but I was there for a minute. I think that day I was at Miami Airport for 20 hours. And of course, another part that we don't talk about rapid response work is you jump in your car and drive 40 minutes, 30 minutes to Miami Airport or whatnot. Because at the time I was living in North Broward, your other clients don't give two. So I was sitting on the floor at Miami Airport typing a brief that for an appeal that I had due 2 days after. And I'm like, you see anything happening? And then like other folks were like coming to me and telling me like what was happening when I was like typing away, looking crazy in my sweatpants on the floor. And then of course I'm wearing sweatpants, so because I'm sitting on the floor, but I have a dress on top and a suit on top of it in case I have to jump into lawyer mode. I just pull down my sweatpants. It's a ghetto.
I'm dead.
But you know what? I was wearing my good dress, my suit, very demure, very mindful on top. At the bottom, nothing demure, nothing mindful, all disrespect.
That was me through Zoom law school, Zoom as a attorney when we went through the second lockdown. Girl, I was
Demure on top,
looking this cute on top, at the bottom, upward.
disrespect, lack of mindfulness.
None whatsoever.
You had a good week as well. You had your client who was facing a ton of time, and you ended up getting him a great deal that got his ass out of jail.
Yes, and it's hard to deal with clients like that because it's not necessarily the deal that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grand scheme of things, it was definitely the best deal he was going to get.
That
And it's hard to say that to the client who's in the shoes going through it. He was very defensive, very angry, which I totally get. And it wasn't until I told him, I was like, listen, I understand. I understand why you're upset that you've been held in for 7 years and now you're not getting what you want. I hear you, but I'm not your enemy. I'm working with you, not against you. And it's hard to realize that when a lot of people tend to think that public defenders work for the state, which we get paid by the state, but we don't work for the state attorney's office. So then they tend to think like you're working with them, you're trying to put me in, all this stuff. And all he kept telling me was, damn, I knew I should have gotten a private attorney or a real attorney. That's what they tend to say, a real attorney. And I'm like, I know, and you got stuck with me. But other than that, even though he may not realize that it was the best offer he could get based on everything that he was facing, I did call you. I told you that we got that. What else?
and
I got
this got a great deal. Okay, when you run the risk of spending your life in jail and you walk out the
jail,
door,
prison.
and you walk out the door, you got a great deal, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. I had another client. Maybe this is something we're going to have to dissect later on. But I really do feel like this grandparent thing for the like elderly men that I have and even women that I have that are in jail, like my heart just breaks.
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah. And some of them this week I was triggered because one of them was walking in from jail into the courthouse. And the way he was walking reminded me of my grandma who would walk like this with Alzheimer's. And I was like, I was able to get him out. But people aren't realizing that sometimes my clients are waiting 3, 6, 8 months to get placement into a program just for them to be released. Like that takes a toll. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now.
No, you're not. No, you're not. It's hard. I think also all of these things are such reflections of the country, right? Like we are literally incarcerating and putting in cage our elderly.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna tell me there was no other option than to arrest somebody who could barely walk? That's wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild to me.
Or the fact that we have over 70% of our clients, like our office clients, are mentally ill. Like this is not a jail or a prison problem.
Yeah, I know.
And the fact that they're being released from custody with no medication.
Of course.
And then they're like, go fend for yourself.
Yeah.
I had a client whose case may be ready for trial. And he's nah, I'm good. Don't push it too hard because I'm homeless. And he's like, I'm not looking to be out there in the streets. So he's like, you can continue. And I'm like, oh, listen, has a guaranteed food. And that's what he's worried about because he knows nothing on the outside is going to help him.
That's enraging. That makes me mad.
Actually, you and I were talking about the places that some places we volunteered at that we worked at that are nonprofit and how some of them claim they're supposed to help people like my clients. And for the most part, they really don't. It's very much just what is it?
It's
That. Yeah.
It's really just, I think folks, particularly folks who are in social services, and I'm not talking I've said it many times. I used to work in social services as a social worker. But I think a lot of people, particularly social services, nonprofit executives, they really rub their ego with this whole like charity. I feel good about myself but they really don't give about what happened to the people and the actual like outcome. And it's all about grants. It's all about what you're able to push, what you're able. It's never about the people. It's never about what impact can really have. To me, I haven't had that experience, and I worked in multiple places as a social worker, and it just hasn't been my experience. I could be wrong. It just has not been my experience.
And I would say, since you shared a highlight this week, it's the little things. But this week, I sent you pictures of it. I got a office with windows, and that's a huge win for me because you spend so much time in your office that now having sunlight coming in. Listen, I've been going to work super excited to be at work. I set it up nicely, have my little coffee station, and it's those little things that really do make a difference about wanting to continue to do this work. So we had our highs and our lows, and we're still here.
Yeah. And I'm about to get a real high right now because after this recording, I'm going to sleep till my body can't sleep no more. And there's going to be the highest of high. Oh, you thought I was going to say something else. No, I'm not going to get high. I'm just going to sleep.
I'm glad. I was like, are we making admissions on this recording?
I mean, we are talking about intrusive thoughts today, so I can say whatever the hell.
What is our episode?
Our episode today is Thinking Out Loud. And we're going to talk about our intrusive thoughts, things that make us mad, lawyers who let their intrusive thoughts win.
What is it when intrusive becomes impulsive?
Then we turn into knock if you butt. But we'll get more into it. This is what today's episode is going to be about. And I'm super excited to talk about it. I'm not going to lie to you. So we should just start. We should get into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think, oh my God. So first thing that we are mad about, I think it's the first time we have a light-hearted what we are mad about. What I am mad about is how that intern at TMZ let their intrusive thoughts win and tweeted to the whole world that Beyonce was going to be there just for and giggles and had people, I'm not going to say who, Mary, I'm not going to say who, had people watching the Democratic National Convention thinking Beyonce was going to be there. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I don't know nothing about that.
Did one of us perhaps might have peeked at Kamala's speech, hoping that Beyonce was going to rise from the ashes of this raggedy ass convention?
So what had happened was someone tweeted that Beyonce was possibly going to perform at the DNC because apparently in the credits it showed Beyonce. What ended up happening is that Kamala Harris came out to Freedom by Beyonce, which if we can do a little sub, remember that's the song that Donald Trump played at the RNC and she sent a cease and desist and they had to take it down because he didn't have permission to play it. So she came out to that song, but apparently, people started circulating early on Thursday, the last day of the convention, that she was going to be there. Mind you, I can now report that Beyonce was not, in fact, performing at the DNC.
And I can report that if you ever come across anybody at TMZ, you could let your intrusive thoughts win and whoop their ass.
Yo, the amount of tweets and the amount of gifs and stuff that are coming out of people being like, yo, TMC, come outside real quick. I just want to talk.
Yeah, Harvey is on site. On site. Because you don't play about the queen. When did it? TMZ gonna be
I'm
getting
not
roasted.
saying that I logged in for that.
Huh?
I'm not saying that I logged in for Beyonce.
Yes, you did. Because why the hell would you watch the convention otherwise?
First of all, this is the problem with you being the first person I call after it's done. And I'm like, girl, I had been trying to keep up with this convention to see Beyonce. And Beyonce, yo, you laughed so hard. You laughed so, like, you screamed. You cackled from within.
Yes, I did.
And you're like, I didn't even hear that. And I was like, me either.
Why you tell?
I was embarrassed.
But okay, Fred, I know I laughed at you, and I will forever laugh at you. But if I heard it, I might have looked. I ain't fought lie. If I had heard a rumor, if I was not like laser focused on work all day and off of the internet, they would have gotten me too. And
Listen,
you know me, I would have wanted to set TMZ ablaze.
I told my friends,
Activity or nothing like that.
correct. I told my friends, I'm like, y'all, I'm not watching it. Let me know when she comes on. But I'm not saying that my friends are not reliable.
I am saying it. Mhm.
I'm looking at the group chat. I'm just saying that when they get excited, they tend to forget they have an assignment. So every so often, I wasn't even watching it on TV. I was simply clicking on the live on Instagram, right? The DNC live on Instagram. So I would log on, see she wasn't on, turn it off. Log on, turn it off. And then I was like, what the hell's going on? Ain't nobody told me that she's been on. Kamala has been on for the past 30 minutes. She, in fact, did not perform.
Speaking of the DNC, I know we're talking about intrusive thoughts, but can you indulge me in that trash ass event? I did not watch, but you almost can't escape the highlights on the
Right.
interwebs. So, what was your take on the performance, the speeches, the stuff that you saw at the DNC? Were you impressed?
Actually, that's a great way to put it. It felt very performative. It felt like multiple people took the stage and they were waiting to create that soundbite that was going to be rolling all over Instagram, all over social media. It's almost like people were trying to drop a gem that was going to go viral. Actually, that's what it is. It's almost as if these speakers literally did it for the gram. And if you've ever encountered people like that, it makes you cringe. I remember I messaged you a few times. I'm like, yo, so and so is on. She's making me cringe. Yo, so and did you watch this video? Cringe. Right? It felt very performative. With that being said, although I felt like that, the energy that I saw on social media was very much like welcoming it, hyping it, hopeful. So that was very interesting for me to see. How about you?
I think when I'm watching the sound bites and things at the DNC, I'm not a medical expert, but it was very much giving Stockholm syndrome. It was very much giving like the collective gaslighting that we have gone through have turned us into puppets. I'm like, what are we clapping for exactly? I'll say this based on what I've seen and what I did not see but heard about or whatnot. I would divide the performances, the appearances, and the speeches of the DNC into three categories. Narcissistic politicians looking for a moment, done with entertainers who should have retired trying to capitalize on 10 minutes of fame, and Democratic candidates willing to say just about anything for a chance of screwing us over. I didn't see anything impressive. I didn't see anything that gave me hope. People were like, Kamala talk about a ceasefire in Gaza. No, she did not. No, she did not. Kamala put together words. I wouldn't even say a sentence. She put together words. Kamala's not dumb, okay? That woman is very intelligent. She put together enough words so you could gaslight yourself and me about how she feels about Gaza.
I think she
Kamala,
told us how she felt about Gaza.
Kamala did not provide me with any sorts of economic plan that made me feel any confident that anybody in Gen Alpha whose parents are not Kamala and other who are very rich are going to be able to afford a home. I got no reassurance that the price of groceries and gas is going to be better under her than anybody else. The only thing I would say is this. Am I going to say it? Yes, I will. Okay. The only thing I'm going to say is this. I am sick and tired. This is not me being mad. I ain't mad just yet. I am sick and tired of you mother delivering me Republican rainbows and BLM fists and telling me that is different. Okay? Just because you are Pete Buttigieg as opposed to JD Vance does not mean you didn't bring me a white man with okay? I'm just gonna stop right here. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
It's a beautiful thing to see your intrusive thoughts win.
They win more often than they probably should, considering the fact that the Florida boy could come at any point and snatch that baby right from under me. Probably shouldn't be talking so much shit, but
If you could back it up.
I do say things that align with ethics. See, this is a problem. Some of you all prefer to abide by the rules of likability rather than the rules of morals and ethics. See, I don't care to be liked, but I care to be ethical and moral. Some of y'all should try that for a change. Who? Kamala. But some of y'all should really try that for a change.
Listen, since you did say that this is not necessarily something that got you upset, we can talk about what we're mad about, right? It included the DNC, it included all of that. But one of the things that you and I spoke about was specifically Gus Walls, right? Tim Walz's son, who is a child, who had a beautiful moment, emotional moment, when his father was giving his speech. And I told you that when I saw it, I teared up. I saw it multiple times and I cried every single time. People were sending it to me like, hey, did you see this? And I was crying left and right because it was such a pure moment. But you have to remember, this is a child, right? Turns out that people took that moment and ran with it and made it a joke and made it a point of bullying this child.
No, not just people. Specifically, we want to talk about our favorite conservative lawyer, Ann Coulter. Again, when I tell y'all lawyers, y'all on thin ice with me.
And we're out here worrying about our license
with JDs. I actually did not know that Ann Coulter was a lawyer. I just saw the behavior. I said, this is very lawyer of her. I bet you she got a JD from somewhere. And I was right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, she a lawyer. She a lawyer. The behavior is on brand. The behavior is on brand. When I was convinced that she was a lawyer, it was not even when she decided to bully a child. It was when she decided to not apologize. I said, okay. Yeah, this is an attorney. This is a lawyer. She went to law school. I know narcissistic lawyer syndrome when I say it. Somebody from the Psychological Association put this somewhere in a book. There's a lot of people in this world walking around that needs to be diagnosed with that.
DSM-5.
There's a particular brand of gaslighting that are very unique to lawyers. The way that woman said she took down her tweet when she found out this child was autistic, but forgot to add that she was deeply sorry that she was an ableist piece of shit. It was giving Esquire.
And not only did she, but a whole bunch of people started commenting on it. They were like, oh, this is what happens when instead of raising alpha, you raise beta males. There was a specific tweet that I saw. So apparently, Tim Walz passed legislation about having feminine hygiene products free in all public schools. And somebody commented like, oh, can someone hand him his tampon already? Because he was crying that much, right? Calling him a little bitch. And again, I want to remind people that this is a child. And wasn't it Ann Coulter who was the one coming after people for going after Barron Trump and talking about he's just a child? Oh, we shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And now it's okay. It's the hypocrisy for me.
Fuck her. That's all I gotta say. Just fuck
Right.
her.
Yes. Okay, well,
We're gonna go from one trash lawyer to actually a lawyer I like. Okay? Because this week in Lawyers in the News, we got a lawyer with big Alex energy. I love it. Listen to me. When we talked about that story, and this is an old story,
it is.
the first thing that came to my mind was, we nucky, we bucky, we're ready to fight.
The funny part is that before you even finished describing it, we both knew what you were talking about.
Oh, yes, we did. Oh, yes, we did.
And the best part is that you and I said that we watched this clip on the regular.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a very important clip to me. I don't know how else to say it except that it's very important to me.
It is in the cornerstone of who I am as an attorney.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let me tell you something. This clip guides every decision I make in my career. Because I don't want to be like this guy.
That's dangerous.
But I dream of it so often. Mary, tell the people about Lawyers in the News so we can really get into it. My boy.
Okay, so Lawyers in the News, it involves two people, right? A judge and a lawyer. And the attorney is Adam Weinstock, who is a PD.
Public defender.
And yes, a public defender. And Judge Murphy from Brevard County in Florida. We don't usually claim Florida, but we're going to claim Florida.
Oh, this is the epitome of Florida, man.
Right. And what's so funny is that within the public defender culture, there is that talk of your PD is ready to nuck and buck, like at any time, right? At any moment, we are ready. So when this video comes up,
but Adam was.
When this video came up, I was like, it's giving very much PD energy. Just what's his name? Brian Steele gives PD energy, and he was a former PD. And public defender Weinstock was in front of Judge Murphy, and apparently they got into it. There was a back and forth, a discussion, and it escalated so much that the judge told the attorney, "You want to go out back?" And the attorney said, "Bet." And proceeded to follow the judge to the back. And
Sorry. I just,
it went down.
and went down for the count.
It went down.
My boy said, say less.
Public defender, what do you want to do?
Have they filed?
They have.
I'm not waiting.
All right, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do? I'm not waiting. If you want to set it for trial, set it for trial.
All right.
If you want to set it for docket signing, set it for docket signing. I'm not waiting in any case. This is an
You know,
emergency
if I
created by
had a
the
rock,
state.
I would throw it at you right now.
You know, this is
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit
you know
down.
what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand
I said
and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
outside.
ass.
He said it can't be a felony battery if it's mutual combat. He thought
If
this
you
through.
like it, I
He
love
thought,
it.
he thought this through.
Yep.
He
It's,
thought
it's the quickness of the answer. He was like, I don't need to get ready. I stay ready.
I need you to also know that his clients were in the box.
It was a packed courtroom.
Correct.
At this point, though, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to take it back in the words of Dr. Heavenly from Married to Medicine. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to take it back. But when you're representing your client, you can let your client see you being soft. So he was like, you know what? I ain't going to let my people sit me down.
Now, what I will say, and I don't know if you agree with me, if you've ever been in front of certain judges, you know exactly how APD Weinstock felt.
Oh, for sure.
Because they will bring out the ungodly in you. Girl, sometimes it takes everything in me to just stay right with the Lord. Because, girl, some of these judges will evoke that.
Yeah.
And they know too.
No, for sure. And I think that's what was determined in the end was that though Mr. Weinstock shouldn't have agreed to the fist fight, I don't think any of us who understands the requirements of the profession would say he was right to let the intrusive start to win. So he was a little wrong, but the big fault was with the judge, and ultimately the judge is the one who suffered the consequences. I think he was fine. He was disqualified as a judge, so he got what he deserved as far as punishment, because at the end of the day, he claims that he was displeased with Mr. Weinstock's representation of his clients, which I can understand as a judge, because judges are attorneys, right? I think when you look at another lawyer doing work, and you and I talked about that recently, because I had a case with another attorney and I was extremely displeased with their performance. I think as another lawyer, sometimes when you watch lawyers do things, you're like, damn it, like if I was doing this, I wouldn't do it this way. I'm extremely frustrated, but at the end of the day, there is a certain line to not cross. And telling an attorney in the courtroom that you're ready to Mayweather them in the bed is not really the way to go about it.
But also, here's the other thing. We're acting like there isn't remedies for this, right? If the judge really cared and felt that these people were not getting right representation, that's why you could have submitted your own bar complaint against the attorney. Literally, we have a process to assess this.
Yeah.
So for the judge, listen, I'm a firm believer that to those whom power is given, much is expected. Yes, the attorney should have known better, but I'm holding the judge to the standard.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
the problem is letting power get to your head, thinking that you go invite people to nug and buck, and they're gonna say no because you're a judge.
yeah. I think that's the part that creates room to think as well. Is that yes, we are attorneys, yes, but we're also human, right? Like you want to try me one more time. You got one more time to try my patience before I put them 3 letters behind my back and show you really what I'm about. You know what I'm saying? So I understand how he got there because it's like you could see, and I'm sure the footage doesn't show the whole interaction. You could see him trying to keep his cool. You could see him trying to keep his cool. And I'm not saying that's always true, but most of the time, when we are in a courtroom, the judge is the most seasoned lawyer. The judge is the older person. We have to have some wisdom. We have to have some wisdom. This is, yes, it's a position of power, but it's also a position that comes with responsibility. You can't be out here cutting up like that all the time thinking I'm gonna take it. Some people are not cut out that way. Some people are. Like, to be honest with you, I've taken my fair share of like bad behavior from judges and lawyers because representing immigrants is really tough. And I let it roll off my back because I keep my eyes on the prize because I'm like, damn, that person ultimately will have the ability to make a life altering decision about what happens with my client. And I try to keep it together. And that's where the intrusive thoughts part come into play. Have I wanted to wine stock some of them people? A couple of judges could have gotten wine stocked. But you got to keep it together for your client. But the judges also, those are people that look at you from a position of mentorship. Please act like you got some damn sense. Act like you got some decorum. Keep it demure. Keep it mindful. Keep it respectful. You got to do it.
Not you saying Weinstock.
I want this to become part of my vocabulary.
So just wrapping up lawyers in the news, I believe not only attorney Adam Weinstock, but Judge Murphy are a perfect example of when intrusive thoughts become impulsive actions. So I think in our profession, but just in our day-to-day life, when Miami gets hot as hell, people get crazy on the road, making sure that our intrusive thoughts do not become our impulsive actions.
Yes, indeed. We have to do a little better than this. And I'm definitely not one to speak because my intrusive thoughts win every time. But that's enough of lawyers in the news. I think we need to do a little learning. So this week in Learning Out Loud, we are going to again move away a little bit from legal advice, but I think elections are also legal. So Mary, what are we getting into, huh? Tell me what we're getting into for Learning Out Loud.
So for Learning Out Loud, we're going back into the week and how we talked about the DNC, but also this past week we had primary elections here in Florida. And although the Georgia elections are in May, one of the things that we want to tell people is what should you be on the lookout as election season is well underway, right? So you
Yes.
have a few little things that we want to touch on.
As voters, we have to do a better job really digging in to get informed about policy. Then one of the things you told me about is that how very little policy was discussed at both conventions. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
I was just reading up some articles that mentioned how there wasn't really substantive policy discussed. It was just very surface like to evoke emotion. We're going to do this, but not how, right? Or we're going to stop this, but not how. There was little to no talk about immigration policies. And so, what you and I were talking about is how do we make sure that people are attentive to what is performative versus what is policy, because it seems like little to none was discussed.
Correct. So this election season, what we really want to talk to you all about is about simple ballots, right? You can actually in every state go online and see what you're going to be looking at before you go to your voting location. Read up on these people. Honestly, as somebody who is very I would say sometimes even pessimistic when it comes to elections. There is very few politicians that impress me, but at the local level, there can be very serious differences between your candidates that can make really very important differences in how you live in the cities and counties and state where you live. So I would say definitely when you are getting ready to vote, research the candidates down the ballot. Research your judges. The Murphys are on the ballot. The judges that are going to ask you to go out back and fight, they're on the ballot. Research them. Research how they voted. A simple search of judge, whatever their name is, news can show you news articles about many times when they make controversial rulings, it makes the news and their names is on there. Research that and see, do I align with that line of thinking? Do their opponents offer something better? So you definitely want to research, pull up your ballot, look at everybody that's on that ballot and research it.
And that shouldn't be something that you do because it could be very overwhelming when you get to the voting site and you haven't done your research and you're like, who do I vote for? And you only vote for one because it's the only one that it's something that is going to require work.
Yeah.
Right? That you're going to have to do before. But also, for example, here in Florida, there's some newspapers that release who they support. And depending on how the newspaper, what their stance is on politics, sometimes it aligns with yours or sometimes it doesn't. You could go off of what they're saying, right? And see if it works for you.
Yeah, and there are organizations that do that too, that issue endorsements every election season. So if you are somebody who know you might not be able to research every candidate, I would say research organizations that issue political endorsements. See which one of them has values that are more closely aligned with yours, and vote in accordance to their endorsement. I do that sometimes as well when it comes to certain things that I don't know. Like before I was a lawyer, a lot of things about judges and lawyers I did based on endorsements from legal organizations that I knew had views that align with mine. There are ways to still research people and get information that involve you having to Google every single name. But if you're somebody who has the time, or if you're somebody who, for example, know that people in your family or in your circle will trust your judgment, take the time and do the research so you can answer the questions and you can make an informed decision about voting.
The other thing that I do is when I go vote, I take my printout ballot and I do it over there, right? Like I print out one of the ones that you can get online so that then I know I just go and do it right then and there, which a lot of people don't know they can do.
Yeah, of course. The being an informed voter, it's probably the most important thing you can do for yourself because of how much politicians in all parties rely on you not being informed about their actions, about their decisions, and about the things that they do and or have done.
Mm.
And this is not a partisan thing, right? Like politicians from both major parties and all other parties have done things that are ridiculous that should have gotten them out of office if we were a country who conducted business in a way that was centered in morality, but we're not. We very much know that politics is a publicity stunt. It is a money game. Whoever is more famous and has more money is more likely to win. But that also is in part due to the fact that we are not informed voters and we can do something to change that. This coming election, we can definitely do something to change that. Someone y'all's hot take on Twitter tells me you haven't done that.
And learning out loud.
Yeah, we are in learning out loud. No, but this is part of learning. You have to learn to research before you tweet and research before you vote. And I think also we need to talk about just voter suppression, right? There's been a lot of efforts at purging people's voter registrations, deleting them, putting them in inactive status. So, folks, really be sure that you're actually registered to vote before the voting deadline in your state. And it's extremely important that you make sure that you are not going to show up the day of the election and be told you cannot vote. So I think, Mary, another thing that we had talked about is we really want to be proactive as far as helping people check their voter registration. So folks can email us. If you want to get the web address to the election website, the voter registration website, it has various names in various states in the state where you reside, so you can look up your status or your voter registration status. We can send that to you. You just got to email us at our loutloudpodcast@gmail.com email, and we'll send you the website based on the state where you are, so you can look up your voters records to see if it's still active, if you would be able to go in November and cast a vote for whoever you want to cast a vote for. Anything else, Mary, on Learning Out Loud Election Edition?
We talked about how making sure that you know that there are resources for people with disabilities. And so if you need assistance in any way, shape, or form, there are organizations that are there to assist you with any number of disabilities. So this isn't something that you should feel like you have to sit out. And again, if you need help finding those resources, contact us. That's what we're here for. Or if you just have a question and you're like, honestly, I don't know if I could even vote. I had a previous case and it's something that you want us to help you out with, let us know.
And I think also a lot of state laws have embedded in them accommodations. There are organizations, but also poll workers are trained on how to offer proper accommodations to folks. They are trained on understanding the requirements of language access. In some states, like in the state of Georgia, and I know Florida is similar and other states have similar laws, you can bring an interpreter to the polls with you. Different states have different guidelines, but the language access provisions within the laws in a lot of states allow you to have access to an interpreter if English is not your first language. As a person with disability, you are legally authorized to demand that proper accommodation is provided to you. So do not let fear or lack of information keep you away from voting. And also, though it is not a universal rule, many states offer absentee ballot. You can vote by mail, and your vote will count. There's a lot of misinformation about voting by mail, but voting by mail is a reliable form of voting. The misinformation is caused by people who were not intuitive enough to utilize vote by mail in the middle of a global pandemic that required them not to go to the polls. Do not let people's ignorance keep you from utilizing something that is reliable, viable, and can help you participate in the voting process when you would otherwise not be able to for various reasons, including health reasons. So that's another thing you could do. You would get it with sufficient time and you can mail it in. Or if you are somebody who's scared, you can drop off the mail-in ballot. Like, you don't have to put it through the U.S. Postal Service. You can drop it off at a polling locations. There are options. You can reach out to us and we could tell you how to make sure that you're properly accommodated, that you understand the laws in your state about language, around disability, around absentee balloting, making sure each other are informed about how we could utilize the various things that are at our disposal to vote.
Correct. So this is Lawyering Out Loud. We thank you for being here. Reach out to us at loutloudpodcast@gmail.com and also at L Out Loud Podcast on all social media platforms. And as always, thanks for watching us.
Take care. Bye.